Marvyn, the current age of consent is 16. Do you think that needs to be adjusted? And before you answer, I should be clear that Russell Brand denies any wrongdoing, any unlawful act whatsoever.
That's fine. I think any adult man dating a 16-year-old is incredibly problematic, and it's a reason why it has to be reviewed. I think the age of consent being, if you are 16 and you're consenting with another 16-year-old, it's a completely different framing than if you're consenting to a 25, 30-year-old man or woman.
Because a differential in power, you mean? That's
absolutely. There's such a power and a dynamic shift when someone's so experienced engaging with someone so inexperienced. And ultimately, you end up manipulating and coercing that young person because they are not in full control of what it is that they're doing. I think having a consent bubble between 16 and 18 makes sense because
what would that look like? What do you mean a consent?
As in, like, if you are consenting to someone that is 16 to 18 when you're 16 to 18, then that is fine. Once you go beyond 18, you're now talking about an actual adult still with a young person that's in development, and I think that's where it becomes really, really
So you determine it based upon the age difference?
Absolutely. Look, I feel like the only way, because if we're trying to make this law, it has to have some sort of framework that is really easy translatable.
Well, let me help you.
If we're making it about their personal development, you never know, because yes, there are 18-year-olds who are still underdeveloped.
Well, some people are ready at 16, some people are ready at 18, some people are really never mature enough. But there has to be an arbitrary line, because in law, people have to have confidence that what they're doing is lawful. You know, the age of criminal culpability, we're going to be talking about that. We've been talking about that in the show, is 10 years old. Some countries have it at 18 years old. But just to sort of support you, there's a Sexual Offences Act. I used to deal with serious criminal offences when I was a practising barrister, and, you know, that law changed. So if you're a teacher or if you're in a position of power, if you have a relationship with somebody who's in your classroom and under the age of 18, that, on the face of it, is a criminal offence because of the real risk of an abuse of power.
Yeah, and the association of responsibility with those particular professions, which is why a doctor, a dentist, even accountants, people where there is an element of trust because of their professional status and the fact that they have an air of responsibility for people, you expect them, it's almost that there's a higher expectation of behaviour from them. But I think what I'm troubled by is this idea of the 16 to 18 bubble, because, as you say, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but what you want as just a layperson is, I need certainty from law. I need to know whether the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit means 30 or 40.
That is pretty certain and pretty clear.
How do you police
As soon as you are 19, dating and having sex with someone at 16 is no longer legal. That is pretty clear as to what a bubble is. Well, because I think dating people of your own age and making an adult decision or a mature decision to date and have consensual sex with someone of the same age makes more sense than someone who is over 18 or even over 25.
But theoretically, yes, but how do you...
Why on earth, as an adult male or an adult person over 25, would you want to have sex with a 16-year-old? Where are you meeting 16-year-olds?
Shall I count the ways?
Yeah, but please do. Please tell us how this happens, because we'd love to know. Because
I think there's... we're delving into male psychology here.
Well, people's psychology, because women do it too.
Yeah, OK, but this idea of the young, the ingenue, the virgin, she's young, she's pretty, it plays to the status of the old.
And that's why law is needed to guide those people who clearly don't have the sense themselves to know that it's not OK.
But Marvyn, you'd agree that I agree with you on that bit.
You'd agree that the law needs certainty, right? And there has been an arbitrary line set at 16. What you're saying is that a 16-year-old doesn't necessarily have, you know, the emotional readiness, the intelligence, let's say, in order to make a determination about who she or he is having sex with.
There are 30-year-olds who have not loved fully with their whole heart and emotionally are not stable enough to even go into long-term relationships. So to think that you can do it at 16 is absolutely laughable.
But you're saying 16
and the act of a sexual act, and the thing is, this is where a lot of the problems come from, is that we're so relaxed around how when young people enter the sexual realm, is that they end up having these really traumatic experiences, and it goes throughout their adulthood and their lifehood. And then we end up getting this point where a whole group of adults are so completely traumatized by engaging in healthy acts of sex and pleasure. So for me, it makes way more sense for us to really consider what that relationship is at the beginning, create some clarity, and make sure that they are protected from older men and women who are looking at them with some sort of weird sexual lens. It's bizarre.
But you're saying it's OK for a 16-year-old to have a consensual sexual relationship with an 18-year-old?
Yes, it makes way more sense than
Right,
a
okay,
25-year-old.
but
So we're
then-
talking
but
about how we
how-
make adjustments. If I had
I
my
agree,
actual preference, I would say no one under 16,
But how do
18
you
should be
police
doing
it?
it.
How do you police it? How do you...
The same way we police it now. There's
Well,
nothing
okay,
different.
so it's okay for the 16-year-old to have sex with an 18-year-old, but not with
25.
Okay, how do you, unless they fall pregnant by mistake,
They
or a
report
complaint
it.
is
Their
made,
parents report it.
how
Their
do
friends
you-
report it. How it gets reported now is the exact same way. We make sure that it's
Marvyn,
reported.